And so it begins. Backdoor entry. Okay, here's the Jbl Subwoofer. And you can see dual voice coils. Here's the kicker, dual voice coils. The height is almost the same, but these don't, it fits right in a hole, but it doesn't, I don't think any of those holes line up to metal, so I have to make a little adapter for it, some kind of adapter to screw it to. But other than that, it's real easy. Shouldn't be a problem. So this is about connecting wires. I'm pulling this on here. See if I can get this point a little better. There you go. Now those 4 wires are the wires that went to the subwoofer. Get this camera to quit shaking. Well, of course I'm shaking worse than the camera. Dang. All right. So there's several ways to connect wires. Most people just use those solderless terminals that crimp on. I don't like them. They are prone to failure, even from vibration over time, and even, you know, they work most of the time until they don't. So a proper crimp with a proper load relief in a case like this is solder, for me at least. It's not hard. So I'm going to show you how I get it in here. These tiny little plugs are too small to stick the wire in. I'm not going to use them anymore. So I take this little guy here and I will open them up. It's like a rib spreader. 2 of them are not soldered. These are not soldered, they're just hanging in there. So I make them open, and then I got the colors. Oops, wrong end. These guys actually have heat shrink already waiting. Ah, come on now, don't be that way. And if you get it too loose and it's kind of like wanting to fall out, you can crimp them down a little bit. Usually they'll go in there and snap up into something and grab onto something. There they are. Right there. So let's see how this goes. I'm gonna solder them in there. You wait until you see it suck down inside the terminal. And if you wait, you'll see it come out down here. There it is, coming out the bottom. That's it. I'll let it cool off a little bit and then I'll heat shrink it. All right, let's see. Come on now. I'll be that away. It's got a little corner that kind of grabs it. Let's see now. There's little tabs sticking out that center it in the socket, and they're in the way for the heat shrink right now. Sometimes you got to do that with solder joints too. You can crunch them down where things will fit. There's one, two. Oh, we got wire hanging over here. Let's see. There's 3, 4. Oh, nice. Whoa, nice. One more piece. Stand by. All right, let's see. Come out of there. Don't be that way. There you go. I just want to make a nice load relief where this thing curls around up through there. Keep it from messing with those connections. Those of us who get the heat gun out. Cars used to be in 100 plus outside, so I'm not going to be using very much of this big stuff. There it is. So here's the tweeters from the corners of the dash. They're all one unit. And in order to use them, I had to cut them apart to make a mount for the new tweeters. So I had bandsaw, cut them off, ground them up, polished them down a little bit, cleaned all the fuzz out of them. And then I was able to just stick the new Alpine tweeter right through the middle of the hole in there, and it just fit perfectly. I was actually quite astonished. That way I could just turn around and bolt it back in there with the original holes that held the original tweeter. So here it is mounted, and it's got the wire sticking out, and the only thing left was that I had to solder the leads on for these little plugs that I got from Crutchfield that enable me to just plug into the car side harness. So there's a completed assembly with the, the condenser and and whatever you call it. There's a cap in there and a resistance. So yeah, came out real nice. Okay, back again. So this is the adapter that came with the Alpine speakers. All I got to do really, there's a little lip here, and it's scored across here so you can break it off. See, and then it'll lay flush. I found out that I can get it up here right like this, and I can get the screws in. See if I can do this. There's a magic spot. Hold on now. There it is, right there. Just like that. Now I come out the speaker. But first I have to solder some wires together for the crossover. Let's go do that. Okay, so this is the harness plug that came with the kit from the vendor. And this is the crossover for the speaker. So I have to take the white wire is positive, the black wire is ground, and I have to solder them onto here. So I'm going to get some heat shrink, cut it, and I'll get ready and then I'll solder it. Hold on. Okay, so got this one prepped. There's some heat shrink. Soldering gun's hot. There it is. It's ready for the speaker. Of course I have a messy bench. One crossover, the second one. Alrighty. So now I got 3 wires, 2 powers and 1 ground. So the ground goes right here on a tiny one. You always want to support this because you can break these little panels. Now, let's see, there's a half size one and a full size one. So it's 3 different size spade terminals. So you can't get it wrong, right? So I take this guy, put a loop in it just to make it a hair shorter. Throw a tie wrapper on it. I don't want this thing hanging in there swinging around, and I don't want it getting too close to stuff and vibrating, you know, so you kind of tie it up. Then we go to the other side, right about here. See, this guy will sit about like that. There's a little spot here for a tie down. There it is. See, this guy will be like this. Be hanging like this on the door. The wire will come out right through there. Kicker. Yeah. Oh, back in the door. Okay, so this guy's got to go back in. Plugged in. There's a little cutout right here for the wire to rot through. Bit of a balancing act in the beginning. Okay. Hold on. Change my ferriting tool. Where's that sucker? Let's see. Kind of holds it in place. And that's it. And the door goes back on. Nobody out of position. And come on now. Come on, screw. everything goes back in this side. Well, and this I had to order them, so yahoo. There it is. Okay, so as you can see, the passenger seat is out of the Highlander. Basically, 4 bolts. Now these bolts are 14 millimeter head metric bolts. Under this plastic cover is a Jbl amplifier. I've unplugged it already. Oh, and there's 3 plugs under the car, under the seat. If you're going to learn to do this, you better figure out how to unplug these guys. There's always a little release of some kind so you don't break them. Anyway, so this guy is held in with 1 screw, little stud down there. But the new Boss amplifier will fit right on the seat, the same place. It's longer, probably better. Yeah. So yeah. Now comes the real fun. That's why you need a wiring diagram. Okay, here's another thing that I just realized on this BE 2200.5D 5-channel amplifier. This thing is designed to drive 2-ohm speakers. So for you Toyota guys, if you have good speakers in your car and you don't want to mess with the speakers, you can put this booster, this amplifier in there, run it on any radio, and it will power your 2-ohm speakers just fine. That's a pleasant surprise. Since I am getting rid of the tuner and putting a new amp, I am going to have no problem with it. But yeah, if you're putting a radio and you don't want to change your speakers, this Boss 5-channel amp will power your Toyota 2-ohm speakers just fine. You know, you learn something every day. If you don't learn something new every day, you're not doing it right. Correct? Wow. So, as you can see, so all these wiring diagrams, that's how I identify this plug that has the speaker out from the amplifier. So they're all in here. I have determined that these 2 are for the driver's side front door by the wiring diagram. According to that, it is number 1 speaker assembly left half. So that's the one in the door. So how do you know that those wires go all the way to that speaker? You take a battery. So now I already put all the speakers in. So now I'm going to make sure that I have them working. I mean, it sounded good, but if I hold this battery, hear that? That's the speaker in the door. So I know that these are the correct wires for that speaker. And so I hook them up to the wire that's going to be plugged into the amplifier. I'll do it for all 7 speakers. Yahoo. So a couple of tips learning. You got to learn to get these plugs apart if you don't want to just cut the wires off. Now on these ones, it's a double lock. It's got a plastic thing that holds it together, and it's got a tab inside. So I use these tools and stuff to get them out. Now the other thing is, this is a great teaching moment because I just made a mistake. I'm looking at it and looking at all the colors, and I'm looking for a green wire and a blue wire, and I found the blue wire and I found a green wire, but when I tried to test the speaker, it wouldn't work. So I had to go back and look again, and I realized what I'm looking at is a light green wire, this guy. So this dark green wire is actually for the subwoofer. So the green is the ground for the front right speaker that's in the door. All right. See if I can get a connection. kind of hard. See? That's a speaker right next to me going. So I know I got the correct wires for the right door, even though I got it wrong to begin with. Yeah, pay attention. Study your wiring diagrams. Find the pinouts for the plugs, because the wiring diagram tells me that the one I was working on, it says plug B. Up here it says B is N15, is a white plug, N15. If you know all that, you can do any of this stuff. It's all about information for the most part. There is skill involved, but information is king. Okay, well, here's all the OEM wires that go to the speakers, come from the output side of the amplifier. And I got the power wire going to the battery and the ground. Now the ground right underneath this in the Toyota is this bolt that held the original amplifier in. It used to go right through here. So what I'm going to do is clean all the paint off around there and put a star washer and torque this down to give it a really good ground. That goes to the black wire. Now the red wire, it's hard to see right here. See if I can do this. See right here where the seat bolts, down here is the floor that's lower under the carpet. And I got lucky from the other side, from the driver's side, I brought the power wire under the car and up through the floorboard by the driver's side. And then I was able to stick my hand under the carpet and slip that big red wire all the way through here with no trouble at all. And I got reached in here and got it, flipped it around the other side and around it right up to here. Very nice. So now I got to work on, all I really have to do is plug in all of the RCA plugs and wires to go up to the front, and then route wires up there. Yahoo. Okay, Toyota guys. So this harness, look at it. This is the, what do you call it? The RCA plugs, cables that are going in there. This is the control cable for the booster. You know, it's got a little, not for the subwoofers. So these are all the speakers and the subwoofer, and this little blue wire down here is the trigger to turn on the amplifier. What I did with this cable, and like these RCA cables were like 12 feet long, I had to go get them, and it's all they had. Anyway, they go in here under the carpet and they go right across here, right down through here. Let me zoom in. You can just see them coming out. I cut a hole in the carpet right here, right? Then I took these 5 screws out. I popped off the console cover because it just snaps on. And then I took out this screw and this screw, and I was able to pull these panels apart and get the cable through. And then it's all coiled up down in there. Right there, see it all? And it's up to the radio now. So yeah, the second day, first day I did all the speakers. Second day, I did all of the wiring for the amplifier. So that only leaves one thing. And of course, being an Arizona car that's nearly 20 years old, what, 19, 10, 14 years old, the sun has burnt all of the vents. So when I try and pop them off, things break, but that's what you get. Anywho, there it is. The disaster zone is almost done here, and I'll put the seat back in. Yeah. Cool, man. See, parts everywhere. There's the AC control unit. There's my broken friggin' vent. Son of a bitch. $250 for that one. Yikes. Okay, so here's a completed installation of the amplifier. Screwed down right here with a couple of screws just inside the back seat. And up in here you can see it's pretty tight, but everything fits. Everything's looking good. This guy, I actually cut off about about half an inch, 5/16 of an inch to make the bottom flat. I'm gonna put it right like that, just about like this. And I'm gonna put some Velcro in there that'll hold it on when I'm done. So I can, if I have to, I pull it off and I can access, let's see, I'm on the wrong side, but see, it's got all the controls. The adjustments are on this end. So tip for people that do any kind of installations, especially if you're putting something under the front seat, you have to take into account that whoever's sitting in the back seat is going to jam their feet underneath the seat. So you have to put something that will keep them from casually stomping on the wiring. Yeah, there is that. But yeah, so that completes the speaker and amplifier installation, and all the wiring is now up into there. And so then we begin the next phase, installing the radio head. Stay tuned, boys and girls. Okay guys, here's an important tip. Right here, this wire is that power wire for the amplifier. It's a 100 amp fuse. That wire is a number 4 wire, which is like a battery cable. And it's routed down through here very carefully and up through the floor and across to the booster inside the car. I want to make sure that it is not touching anything. You never know when you put a wire in. Sometimes you pull it across a piece of frame or something and it cuts it. So I've got my digital multimeter set to the tone, right? Short, open. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hook one of them to the ground terminal of the battery and touch this wire. It's open. There's no short. It's a quick test that could save you a burnt carpet or something. So, and if you're working on electrical on a car these days without a digital voltmeter, stop. I'm going to explain that later. Okay guys, it's a teaser here. It's almost done. I'm looking at the gauges on the radio. Up here, there's an airbag. That's because that module's unplugged. But oh, dash buttons. Nice. So yeah, it's happening and it's almost finished, and I'll have a full update on the various hiccups. So yeah, so far so good. And this is just, I've wired it up, plugged it in.